back to my channel. My name is Naya. You know, it's crazy. I said I wasn't gonna do no more like teaching videos or anything like that, but Spirit definitely had other plans for me. I said I was just gonna upload my old content. Look at me now. So, but I follow orders, I follow directions, you feel me? So this video is going to be about spiritual healing. And you know, I got called to do this video because at the root of this journey, outside of the tarot cards, outside of, you know, connecting, whatnot, we came down here to do one thing: to experience life, to fulfill our soul's mission, you know, to grow as a person, to enjoy being a human and be free of restrictions, free of projections, free of everything that's honestly going on in this world. We just came here to experience and vibe and live and grow, right, and heal. Because I feel like a lot of people honestly get into this path wanting a lot of external things, wanting money, wanting love, you know, wanting power, wanting fame, wanting all of these things outside of themselves. But are you a good person? Huh? Are you a good person? No matter what you believe, are you a good person? Do you treat others with kindness? Do you treat yourself with kindness? You feel me? Are you taking the time to learn things about yourself that you don't really want to look at? It's all about facing the person in the mirror at the end of the day. You know, you're not going to get nothing if you a bitch. And if you do, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get a taste of it and they're going to snatch you right the fuck away, because that's what they do. You feel me? So it's like we're meant to grow as souls as we are on this planet, you know? So I don't want y'all thinking like, don't let these tarot cards, don't let these oracle messages, don't let whatever that, you know, we're saying to you about, you know, what's coming in, about this, that, and the third. It's all about you at the end of the day, you and your life, okay? Okay. So basically what I'm like really getting into is what shadow work is about. I'm going to put like a really good definition from Kemi Marie. They are a spiritualist that I really fuck with. You know, they introduced me to a lot of shadow work prompts, and I'm going to put like the description of it from their books. I really highly recommend y'all to get these books that they created, because it's really good and encompasses a lot of different areas of your life. So I'm gonna put that in so y'all can get an idea of what shadow work is like, which is all about spiritual healing. So after you just read that, right, you can understand like what I'm talking about. It's really about your soul, right, and living authentically, okay, and being who you are outside of what society can force onto you, what you didn't even know, you know, stem from something that happened when you were 6 and it's still affecting you now that you didn't even notice, right? So I'm gonna get into a little bit of my experience and, you know, how I started on my journey and the things that I learned about myself through shadow work. That, it was crazy. I didn't even know I was acting like this because of such and a third, but I dove in it. I'm just rambling. Let's go. Okay. As always, for my OGs, if you see me, I'm looking at my notes. So right in front of me. So before I got into like the woo-woo, you know, but like before I denounced Christianity, right, I was a person, well, let me start there. I denounced Christianity, and like, I think it was the summer before I went into my senior year in high school. I was like, okay, this resonates a lot more for me than Christianity did, right? So yeah, it kind of started around that point. So I guess my awakening didn't happen until, I don't know why I'm doing quotation marks, because really that's what it was. But my awakening didn't really happen until, like, let's say the beginning of my senior year, okay? But I started learning a little bit about the things like that summer before my senior year happened. So what, I was like 17, I think. So yeah, 17 years old. And before I started learning about that, who I was as a person was not a good person. I was not a good person at all. Like, this person now, oh my God, this it took time, it took work, it took really looking into myself and being honest and being real with myself to get to where I am today. I was mean as fuck. I was mean as shit, like, before I started this. And it's like the friends that I had, you know, like, and honestly, like, my immediate my family and stuff who I hung around, it wasn't all of them, but like my core family who I really like was around all the time, we were mirrors of each other, definitely. And it's like, who you are is who you attract. So I was around a lot of people who were like me, right? You know, gossipers, being mean, being shady. You know, I just wasn't, you know, a good person, you know. But I don't try to shame myself that much, because I really didn't know everything that was weighing on me during that time, and I acted out because of that. You not even know that. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit. So like, let's say an example of like the type of person that I was, right? It was like, when it came to me, my friends, and my family, like, yes, we were nice to we showed love to each other, right? But when it came to like other people, or even people in our circle, right, you know, it would just be moments where we were just shady and mean and just gossip about one another. But fuck, I gotta remember retainers and y'all, it's fucking me up. You know, we would gossip and everything. Somebody would be talking about this person behind their back. You know, somebody would say a joke that's really mean as fuck, but we just laughed it off because we knew we loved each other, right? It was all rooted in, I don't say, like, I don't know how else to explain it, but we were just mean. I don't know. We were mean to each other. We were mean to other people. And it's like, am I saying that, you know, oh, I'm better than, no, girl, I was like that too. You know, I just had to be real with myself. So it just wasn't, now that I look back on it, like, I would not want to be around people like that. I wouldn't want to be around myself back then at all. Girl, I probably would have fought me. So that summer of my like I was saying, when I first started like getting into, you know, spirituality and everything, I started learning about shadow work and journal prompts. And some of the things that was coming up, like some of the journal prompts were asking me, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? And I had to start asking myself, like, who do I want to be? You know, like, I started recognizing some of my really, really toxic traits that I'm like, okay, Naya, something has got to change, because I don't want to be like this, right? And it honestly, it challenged me. It was like some things that I just wanted to avoid. I'm like, oh my God, that's too much. So as I started meditating more every day, you know, trying to connect with my guides, you know, and I started seeing what a lot more angel numbers. You know, we started connecting more, but I started doing a lot more internal work, and my life did a whole 180. You feel me? Like, I was that person, but then I started turning to that person. I mean, a different person, a better person, really, really fast. Like, but it's like I got awakened. Like, things changed for me so fucking fast. I stopped gossiping. Okay, I stopped gossiping completely. I just started picking up on things. I'm like, damn, I really don't like talking about people like that. I don't like being mean to one another. I don't like being mean to just random people. I don't like talking about people. I don't like, you know, the people who claim to love me. I don't like people talking about me like in a negative way, you know, and disguising it as a joke, and then saying I'm too sensitive. Like, girl, no, you're being rude as fuck. But so it's like, yeah, I started becoming a lot nicer, okay? I stopped being so judgmental. I just stopped some of the things that I was doing, because I was just like, damn, I do not want to be that person. My eyes got open to how much of a bitch I was, okay? Point blank, period. So, yeah. And then it's like, when I started doing that and changing, you know, my behavior, and that's when like people started getting removed from my life, right? And then during this time, and it was like I had to get real with myself, so I started sending out apologies to people that I hurt, you know, friendships and connections that I felt like I ruined because of me being a weirdo, basically, me being a toxic person. So I sent out apologies to, you know, those people, and it didn't really matter if they responded or not, because I feel like I got that off my conscience. because I knew I was in the wrong, right? So I just felt like I had to rectify that and make it right. You know, some people responded, some people didn't, but it just felt nice to know, like, okay, I'm sorry for what I did. Like, I recognize my ways, and I am truly sorry for that. So it's like, while I was changing, while my beliefs were changing, while I was changing internally and externally, to be honest with you, I noticed that a lot of the people around me weren't. When it came to my family, you know, I was trying to talk at the time when I did like stay with my mother, like during my senior year and everything. You know, I was telling her about like little things that I was learning, and I was just talking to like some of the family that I hung around, you know, like my sisters and, you know, just whatever. I really just honestly just talked to my sisters and my mom a lot. We were really close. And I would just try to tell them about some things. Like, okay, we shouldn't be talking about that person like that, or not we, because I already stopped. I'm like, you know, I just kind of like just tried to rush it, you know, put it in there. Like, okay, let's not talk about them like that. I tried to steer the conversation in a different direction, or I would tell them about like things that I was learning. Like, I remember this one time I was telling my mom about, she had this bundle of sage in her room, and I was telling her how we really shouldn't use white sage because, you know, of the indigenous people, Native Americans, and how it's like becoming kind of, I won't say extinct, but like kind of extinct, you know? So I was telling her how we shouldn't use it and everything. And it's like, they slowly started noticing like, okay, Naya's changing a little bit. Like, she's just becoming a different person. When it came to my friends, like I was still trying to hang around them and everything, but I was just a lot more quieter. I was a lot more quieter. I was a little bit more distant, I would say, because I was going through a lot of internal changes, to be honest with you, you know? And when I would hang out with them and everything, my energy was just like, okay, girl, I'm not feeling as comfortable as I used to. And it's like, at first I didn't know, like, it was my spiritual gift starting to awaken. So like my spiritual gift was telling me like, girl, you gotta go. But at the time I was just trying to be comfortable. I was trying to just keep things how they were and like try to give them, I basically ignored my intuition and like try to give them a chance because I was comfortable with them. Like I said, girl, I just be rambling. Anywho, and it was like that for a while, almost every time I hung out with them. So after a while, I'm like, okay, something has got to change. And it's just me removing myself, right? And it's like, it's not to say that they were terrible fucking individuals, like, you know? But when you are growing and when you are changing as a person, you notice that the people around you aren't changing, then you just have to go because you don't want to get dragged down by that as you are evolving, right? People have to go through their own things at their own time, at their own pace. You can't just bring a lot of people with you who want to stay stuck. That's just not what you do. Yeah, so like high school was just a very weird time for me. Like I transitioned. At middle school, like I had a whole, like I loved my friends down. And even in middle school, I was a little mean girl. But like I felt like I had found my like soul tribe in my middle school. Like they knew me, I knew them, and you know, they loved me, I loved them. You know, I wasn't that person that I feel like I transformed to high school, you know? I felt like I had to fit in high school, and I felt like I had to stick with the friends that I already had knew from middle school because I was scared to branch out. I was scared to talk to other people. So, and like, it's like some of the girls that I was hanging around with, like we didn't really talk to each other a lot in middle school, but my best friend at the time, she was my best friend in middle school. She was one of my best friends in middle school, and she had went to the same high school as I did. So I just wanted to like hang with her other best friends, but the whole time we didn't really talk that much. Before then, and even when we started in high school, I felt like I had to transform myself to fit in with them, to like get in with the clique. You know what I'm trying to say? But whole time, girl, after 3:15, some of the times we barely talked. Sometimes we texted and did that, but all of it was surface level. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the connection that I had with my best friend. So I just really felt alone a lot, to be honest with you. And I felt like I had to do all of these things because I didn't want to be alone, you know? And it's like now I notice how much of a disservice I was doing to myself by just trying to fit in, you know, which is like kind of what society can force you to do even when you're older. Like, you want to do something else, but you're afraid of how you're going to be perceived by other people. Fuck them, girl. They ain't living your life. They ain't doing nothing for you but giving you a unsolicited opinion that you didn't ask for. So when it came to like the time where I just couldn't ignore like the feeling that I had when I was around my family, when I was around my friends, but at this time in my senior year, it started with my friends. And I just had to let my best friend at the time know that I just couldn't be friends with her anymore. And I'd let her know why. And like, I just felt like we were becoming different people. And I just couldn't do it anymore. You know what I mean? And it was like, it was no love lost. You feel me? Because I loved her a lot. Like, you know, but I was just, like I was saying, I was just transforming into somebody different. And I felt like I needed people around me like that as I was growing. So I just honestly had to let them go. And it was like, after I did this happened like maybe, I think like close to the end of the school year. So for the rest of the school year, I was pretty lonely. For the rest of my senior year, I was lonely as fuck. And it was time when like graduation was happening, prom, you know, senior pics and everything. And I just completely like let all of them go. So when it came to senior pictures, I showed up like it was just me. It was just solo dolo, to be honest with you. At my prom, I went by myself. You know, I had another friend like who became my best friend, right? And we were cool for a long time, you know, after high school, right? And it was so funny because we didn't really connect until I had let them go, which we didn't connect as deeply as we did until I let them go, which is like kind of goes to show you when you are getting better, you align with other people who are for you at that time. You know what I'm saying? Who are on the same type of wave as you, vibration, I guess you could say. So yeah, it was just a pretty lonely time for me. And yes, I felt lonely, but I felt like I was getting a lot better as a human, as a person. Like, my soul was growing. I felt confident in my decisions. I felt confident in who I was becoming, because I'm like, okay, Naya, this feels right in my soul. You know what I'm trying to say? It was like after I had let them go, I started getting a lot of dreams for my spirit team, like just as more confirmation that that's the choice that I was supposed to make. I was supposed to do like a lot of those things that I did, you know, because a lot of that served as lessons, and lessons bring growth. Yeah, so I just felt empowered by, you know, what I was doing. Like, I was just becoming a better me, and I was still with my family. I was still trying with them because it was like their family, right? So, you know, if I just show up better every day and like try to be an example for them, maybe they'll want to change too. And I was really tight with my sisters and my mom, right? So I just really wanted to like show them, like, okay, I'm doing better, y'all. Like, I just want y'all to, you know, just stop, you know, stop with some of this shit, you know, because it's not right. But yeah, I was still trying with them, but I was going off to college, so you know what I mean. So before I left for college, I had got an inner child shadow work reading done. And that reading brought up a lot of shit for me. I thought I was doing some work, girl. Like, I was scratching the surface, but I felt like it was just time to get more. I was getting initiated, literally, in that. So I got an inner child shadow work reading done, right? And this brought up so much, like why I was acting the way I was acting. I was dealing with somebody, love-wise, who just kind of like triggered me a lot, and showed me a lot of my flaws, showed me a lot of my wounds, and we had ended up separating, right? So that came up in a reading, and it was like I found out a lot about myself, about my relationship with men, my relationship with my mom, my relationship with myself, when it came to like my self-image and why I did the things I did. Right? It's because, you know, I got bullied a lot when I was younger. I got bullied a lot when I was younger. So it carried with me, like some of that pain and some of that trauma had carried with me. My dad was in and out of my life. My mom was, she was present, but she was emotionally absent. So a lot of those things had kind of shaped me to teenage Naya, and who was just moving through the world kind of aimlessly, right? And it's like, yes, we're teenagers and stuff, you know, but my journey is not gonna look like your journey. I don't really know, you know, when you awaken or whatever, whatnot, right? Whatever. But, you know, I try to give myself as much grace at that time because I was still young, but I'm young now, shit, you know? Yeah, so it just brought up a lot of things for me that has shaped that person uh, in high school. You know, to be honest, you know, as I was growing up, you know, I was self-conscious in a lot of things. You know, I was a people pleaser. I wanted to give a lot of myself to other people without pouring into myself first. You know, I used to chase, so for example, I used to chase girl to boys a lot, like, and it's like I had to go through a lot of lessons when it came to men in my life because of that father wound that I had, because my dad was in and out of my life like that. So I attracted men like that who were just, girl, trifling, to be honest with you. But I had to learn, like, this is not what a healthy love looks like. This is not what somebody is going to, how somebody is going to treat you if they really care for you. You know what I mean? And it really empowered me to love myself more and always put myself, like my grandma say, first on the agenda, okay? First on the agenda, okay? And everybody else afterwards. So I really learned to love myself. You know, I started getting more confident in who I was. I noticed like how kind of cold my heart was because my mom, she didn't really show us a lot of, well, she didn't show me really a lot of emotional nurturing during my middle school years, during like the time where you need it the most, like middle school, high school. That's kind of when our relationship kind of went, you know what I'm saying? Because when I was younger, we were very tight. But when I got older, like during like my teenage years, I needed that love the most, you know. But I have like three other sisters who she had to like parent as well, and you know, she had to be the sole parent, to be honest with you. So I can understand how it was heavy on her, you know. But still, I understood why I was so avoidant in a sense, like really cold, didn't really know how to be vulnerable, didn't know how to do all of these things because I wasn't taught that way. I wasn't given that love. I wasn't given that nurturing. So it's like a lot of those things had came up in that reading, and it changed my life. Like, I remember listening to that shit while I was in the bathroom, and I broke down crying. I was crying hard as fuck. You feel me? But that's how I knew, like, okay, we got to work on this, because it just really just felt like my whole world just kind of crumbled a little bit, because it was the truth. It was the truth that I needed to hear to get better. So I went off to college, yada, 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 you know, still doing my work, but, you know, I was better, right? Came back, decided college wasn't for me. And, like, that's when things started getting a little wonky, girl. So yeah, but I don't really want to get into all that because it's not really important right now. But I decided to come out with my spiritual beliefs to my family, and especially to my devout Christian mother. Girl, take down your ancestral altar or get the fuck out. I dipped. I dipped. So we started having our little problems, all of that, all the family saying, oh, no, girl, demonic, devil worshiper. Ooh, clutching my pearls, you know, girl, dramatic as hell. But it's like they were just fearing what they didn't know. And like that one, I went through a lot of lessons with that really kind of just showed me that a lot of people that I thought really loved me unconditionally, that shit came with conditions that were long as fuck, okay? Like a lot of people just wanted me to be the same person that they knew growing up. You know, I've always been goofy my whole life, girl, a fucking joke. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've always been that person. I will always be that type of person, but I started having more depth to me, okay? And not being afraid to show it, not being afraid to be different, standing in my truth, right? Because, you know, Christianity just wasn't for me. It isn't for me. Like, and my whole family is Christian, going way, way back Christian, you know? But that's all we grew up knowing. That's all we we're taught. So when I came out the woodworks talking about spirit guides, this, that, and the third, they was like, excuse me, what are you doing? And it's like, girl, I got hit with a lot, girl. It broke my heart. It really, really broke my heart how people just kind of switched up on me. I found out a lot about a lot of people in my family talking shit about me. You know, one thing that your spirit team is gonna do, they gonna show you who fucking with you behind your back. And so that's really what happened for me. So yeah, it really, really broke my heart a lot. And like I said, it just showed me that shit came with conditions. And I don't know, it just changed me forever, to be honest with you. And it's like, I learned that with that, like that, even going through those situations, that really hardened my heart when it came to like trusting new people a lot. Because I'm like, damn, the people that I had closest to me switched up on me like this. So it's like, can I trust you? You know what I mean? So I don't know. And I learned a lot of this through therapy, right? So I had ended up going back to live with my mom, right? And we had a really toxic connection, child. I don't even know how I went back, but I had a codependent relationship with her. Yeah. So I learned a lot of this in therapy, and I was hopping from house to house, to be honest with you. Because my mom, once I had decided that I wasn't, slow down, Naya. Once I had decided that I wasn't, like, that college wasn't for me anymore, I came back, you know, I tried to hide it from my mom and everything, and, you know, girl, she called me a failure, damn near, and basically, you ain't doing nothing with your life, you're just gonna waste it. You just doing this, that, and the third. You gonna be like such and such. You know, she was just saying all types of shit. Like, basically, like, just casting down a whole bunch of negative shit over my life. And just basically trying to break my spirit so I can bend to her will. You know what I mean? So yeah, I was living with her. I was really going through a lot of hard times, emotionally. So I'm like, and you know, the crazy thing is, she wanted me to get a fucking therapist. And as I was getting a therapist, and I was, you know, I kind of explained to her what was happening, you know, what I was going through, what we were going through, living together and everything. She was telling me, like, girl, Naya, this is not right. This is not right. You are dealing with a lot of emotional abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse. Yeah, and we got to get you out of there. And it was so funny because my mom was the one who told me to get a therapist, girl. And it turns out she didn't like what the therapist was telling me because I was implementing that shit in my life, girl. Ain't that some shit? So over those like 2 years, I started distancing myself a lot from my family, because I just noticed that they weren't changing. They weren't changing at all. And I'm like, I can't keep dealing with this. Like, I can't let people around me who aren't doing the internal work that I'm doing, because it's just not fair to me. I shouldn't be like really looking at myself and being a better person, trying to be a better person every single day, and I'm entertaining people who just aren't. Like, blood, honestly, it means something to me, but it doesn't mean anything to me at the same time. Like, I love my family, you know, that I do still have in my life. But I'm not afraid to cut you off just because you are family. Like, I deserve people around me who want to be better, who want to do the work, who love me unconditionally, because I reciprocate that same energy. And if you aren't, you have to go. So yeah, my therapist changed my life. She changed my life. We started talking a lot about a lot of abandonment wounds, a lot about inner child healing. We started talking about, you know, better communication methods while I was still living there, and how I could communicate with, you know, my mother and my sisters a lot better. And I was really trying to do the work. I was trying to have like healthy conversations with them. Girl, I was showing her the messages that we was, you know, sending back and forth. I'm like, girl, I tried this shit. And she was like, oh, really? And it just wasn't working. So we had just really came to a point where it was like, Naya, are you gonna keep entertaining this? And I'm just like, girl, no, I'm not. So yeah, she was giving me out homework to do, like damn near every single session, and it really helped me as I was going through like those heavy ass moments, because I had a lot of pain to work with over the past years that I had gained from a lot of that, trauma that I had went through, if I'm gonna be real with you. And it was like, as I was getting better, like naturally when you get better, your energy is gonna shift. You're gonna carry yourself a different way. people around me started being like, oh, Naya thinks she's better than everybody else. Naya don't want to do this. Naya don't want to be around this. Naya don't want to, yeah, this, that, and the third whole time. Like, no, I just couldn't take it anymore. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, I always explained to them, like, I'm not, trying to control your actions. I'm not trying to, have you do this and the third so you can be in my life. These are just the boundaries that I have for myself and for, the type of people that I want in my life. It's just like, you just have to want to be better. That's bottom line. That's it. And it's like a lot of people didn't want to do that. So I removed myself from the situation, and I got called all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? I got talked about terribly. I still get talked about to this day. You feel me? And it's just annoying. So it just really felt like, being a black sheep really comes with a really, really heavy weight on you at times, because it's like the people around you are just kind of put in this one box, and the moment that you decide to break out of it, it's like you get fucking stone thrown at you. You feel me? Like tomato. You know what I'm saying? And I was ducking and dodging, got hit a couple times for years. You feel me? So it was just really, really hard. Girl, at one point I'm thinking like, damn, is it gonna get better? Because it was that bad. It was really heavy. And it was like, yeah, like I said, I just want no contact with some of my family members a lot, because I just started getting revelation after revelation that they weren't changing, that they were still talking down on me, throwing dirt on my name, and being snakes behind my back. And I just couldn't, I won't put myself in situations where where I'm around people like that, because it's a disservice to myself. I love myself too much to do that to me. And it's like, I want to say this. You really can't force anybody to change. It was a time in my life where I really tried to get them to like change, to open up to what I was doing. Girl, I remember I had made a whole PowerPoint to show them like, damn, okay, y'all, if you really don't, if you think ancestral veneration is demonic, you do it all the time without even noticing it. You're going to put, flowers and food on your somebody grave. That's ancestral veneration. You name something in somebody honor. That's ancestral veneration. I had did all of these things to show how other cultures, do it. How Asian people do it. How Hispanic people do it. How even in tribes in Africa and different countries, how they do it. Like, I'm like, it's normal everywhere else, but when it comes to African Americans, it's like you go outside of the Bible or out of Christianity, and you get just casted down on, right? So I just really had tried to open their eyes up to a lot of the things that I was getting into. And some thought it was a phase. They thought I was gonna grow out of it. No. But seriously though, some thought I was just like downright evil. And yeah, so I just really tried to get them to change a lot. Like I was just saying, like a lot. And it's like after the time I just gave up, I'm like, fuck it. I can't do no more. I just have to be myself. And that was a lesson that I had to learn, that I had to go through. You cannot change people, okay? And it was like I had to learn that I just have to save my peace and choose myself, right? I don't know. That's how shadow work kind of helped me over the years. But really some of like the heavy transformative moments in my life, because if I didn't have a therapist, if I didn't have like my spiritual path, if I didn't have my spiritual team, I would not have made it at all, because that was a really tough time for me. Oh, like, what was it, like 3 years of my life where it was just felt like I was just getting shitted on. You know what I'm saying? So I highly recommend therapy. It's gonna really help you really get to the root of a lot of situations. It's like we do a lot on our own with shadow work, with journal prompts and everything, but a therapist is like that unbiased person, that person that is gonna come in and what I was trying to say. That's gonna come in and just really be honest with you, no matter what you want to hear or not. They're like, I don't like my therapist to coddle me. Like, girl, I want to get better. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? Like, tell me. You feel me? And that's exactly like the type of therapist that I had, that I got. I had to do a lot of unconditioning in my life. Like I was so conditioned to be this one person, you know, because when we grow up and we see like older people around us, you know, doing things, you know, being a certain type of way, we start to really become that. So I had to really just learn who I was on the inside. I had to think for myself. I had to figure out who I wanted to be. I had to figure out what I liked, what I wanted to do in my life, you know, what I really believed in, without somebody in my ear telling me to do this, do that, follow this, you have to be like this, you have to do this in order to get that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I really had to learn who Naya was, and I did just that, but it came with a lot of hard work. It came with a lot of tears. It came with a lot of, you know, just me laying in the bed being like, damn, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Like it came with a lot. And it's like we're always growing, we're always learning, it's always more to learn, we're always gonna go through lessons, but it's just about not giving up on ourselves, not reverting back to old patterns, not reverting back to old ways, always striving to be somebody better, right? You know, be better than you were the day before, you feel me? And it's nothing more powerful than knowing who you truly are. It's nothing more powerful than living in your authenticity, no matter what somebody has to say about you. And I had to learn that the hard way, okay? Right, so when you choose to really live in your truth, you are going to, people are going to feel that. People are going to try to make you go back into your box, go back into your shell. But it's like, girl, fuck them. When you put yourself out there, you are going to meet people who are aligned with you. You're going to feel free. And I feel a lot more free than I have in years. I feel more grounded and rooted in who I am than I have ever in my life, you know, but it all came with a lot of hard work, you know, and discipline, and being dedicated to being a better version of myself. And you know, it's like I learned a lot about the good attributes about myself. I learned about a lot of the bad attributes about myself, you feel me? And it's like, it's not always peaches and cream, you feel me? We got the good side, we got a bad side, you know, and it's all about how we choose to learn from our bad side and how we choose to embrace the goodness that is there. And you know, we can always learn things from, I don't want to have the bad side, girl, that's like spooky and dark, right? But it's just like, it's a duality that we all have, right? Nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. I will never claim to be perfect, okay? And if you think like, no, I think she, girl, I ain't never said that in my life. I don't know, but it's just like not running from the tough traits in yourself that you don't like to see, that you don't like to, I guess, recognize, same thing. You know, you can't run from that because you have to sit with that in order to get better. It's hard. You're gonna cry. You're gonna feel like somebody is attacking you if you go to therapy and they bring up something. Like, even when it comes to like tarot readings or whatever readings, if you sit with your spirit team and they send messages in your dreams, or, you know, clear audience about things that you just need to sit down and take a look at, you're gonna feel attacked because our ego doesn't like to hear that, you know? But it's all about having a healthy ego in order to be better. So I think some of the ways like that you can, it's like, I guess, heal. But seriously though, on a serious note, like some of the things that you can do that I would recommend, journaling. Journaling is chef's kiss. When you are angry, when you are sad, even when you're happy, when you're feeling neutral, you know, just talk about your day, talk about the things that happened, talk about how you felt, especially during, you know, when life throws you curveballs. Like we can be doing good until something comes in to like kind of shake us. And it's like, oh my God, I was not expecting that. I really recommend journaling and having like a therapist to talk to. Just having somebody to talk to, it really, really helps, you know, journaling about things so you can see like, damn, am I still behaving the same way I was 3 years ago if this happens? Have I changed? Have I gotten better? And if you've gotten better, you know, give yourself a pat on the back. That's, you know, that's not easy to change. You feel me? And stick to it. I highly recommend journal prompts. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, Kemi Marie has 2 books. They're called the Little Book of Shadow Work Volume 1 and Volume 2. I'll put like little pictures in here if I can, and I'll put the links in the description box if you want to go buy them. I highly recommend you should. So yeah, I have both of them and they help me a lot, especially at the beginning of my journey. Oh my God. And it really can help you learn a lot about yourself. a lot about things that you wouldn't even think about, to be honest with you. But that's how you really get a well-rounded picture of who you are, you know? And it's like with their books, they break it down into different sections of your life. Like I think one of them was inner child vulnerability, and another volume is your sexuality, your intimacy. So I'll just put some pictures on here so y'all can see, like I said. And I want to say, as you are tapping into shadow work, the biggest thing to do is not to shame yourself, okay? Like I was saying earlier, I don't like to be too hard on myself about the times in high school, because I was still, girl, I was only 17 years old and tapping into all of this heavy ass shit. You feel me? So, and like, it's okay to say like I was mean, because I really was. But I'm not gonna like just be like, damn, Naya, you should have been better. Girl, I was learning. Okay, and even with some of the mistakes that I've made in my life, you know, I don't shame myself too much. I just show myself grace, because I had to go through those things in order to be better, in order to learn. You know, forgiveness, you have to forgive yourself for a lot of the things that you allowed, for the things that you did, and things that you regret, to be honest with you. And it's like acceptance and forgiveness is going to be some of the best things when it comes to those heavier moments, when you are doing shadow work. One of the things that I like to do, I like to hug myself, or I like to imagine myself giving that version of that version of myself a hug in my head. And it honestly makes me feel better. I feel like, I don't know how to explain it. I feel a lot better. I don't know how to explain this shit. But I'm trying to think. I was going through this I went through this experience in my life that I regretted it so bad. I regretted that shit so fucking bad. But you know, after a while, I'm like, okay, I forgot to let this go. I can't let this sit on my heart forever. I can't think back to that time in my life and be like just sad and regretful and feeling like I shouldn't have allowed that. I shouldn't have done that. You know, I should have did better. All of these shoulda, coulda, wouldas, you know? So I just imagine myself hugging that version of Naya. And it's like sometimes I feel that version of myself like just crying and like just, I don't know, I feel her hugging me back and like just letting it all out. And that makes me feel better. It sounds really silly, but it helps me a lot. So maybe, or just giving yourself a hug when you're going through those things. I've done that too, and it has helped. When I look at like photos of me when I was younger, I get really emotional, because when I was really young, that was a time when I was free. I was so free, and sometimes I miss that a lot. So, and that really connects me to my inner child too, and I feel like she feels seen. So I just kind of hug myself at times when I'm thinking about when I'm looking at those pictures, like I was saying, and that makes me feel a lot better. So I would recommend that. And another thing that when it comes to healing is that you just taking that first step to understand yourself better, to learn yourself better. You are breaking generational curses just doing that, because a lot of our ancestors, they didn't know how to do that. Some just didn't want to. Some didn't want to get better, and some people didn't have the grace to do that. They didn't have the space to do that. I think of a lot of our maternal ancestors who were single mothers, right, with a lot of kids, or even just with kids who had to be the sole provider. They didn't have that space to step into, their maternal energy, to nurture their kids and to even nurture themselves. They didn't have time to sit with themselves and really understand themselves a lot, and follow their dreams and follow their passions, because they had to put food on the table. They had mouths to feed, they had to make some money. They had to do all of these things, so they had to put their selves on the back burner. You know what I'm trying to say? So you just taking that step and you breaking that is very healing for them as well. So yeah, shadow work is very healing for you. Everything is not always about external things, because if that shit was to go away today, are you okay? Okay, like, is your soul good? If you were to die today, is your soul good? Yeah, it's all about showing up for yourself so you can be a better person and so you can show up better in this world and better to others that you really love. I don't know. You're gonna learn a lot about yourself. I hope I wasn't rambling too much, and I really hope this helps you, and I hope you gain something from this. I'll leave some journal prompts down below as well, some links to that. But yeah, y'all, always make sure that you are doing the inner work. Stop just seeking like things to come to you like so like instantly without you doing any type of work, you know, because it really took a lot. I went through a lot of things in my life before I even got half the shit that I wanted. You feel me? I went through a lot of things for years. And everybody's journey is different, but you know, don't just think that if once you get into this, that it's all about manifestation. It's all about attracting this person, attracting that opportunity, attracting this and that. It's all about your soul. At the end of the day, we are here for one thing: to grow and to evolve. Okay, that's what make the world go round. Get into it. So I hope this helped y'all. Like I said, thanks for watching. If you'd like to book a reading with Mama, the link is in the description box below. I hope y'all have a fabulous day, night, evening, afternoon, whenever you are watching this. I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much, but I don't know how long this shit is gonna be. So yeah, I appreciate y'all. Stay fab.